Equity Mates, from our mates at Spaceship. Investing made easy.
Welcome to another episode of Equity Mates. It is Watchlist Wednesday with a twist this time. My name is Bryce, and as always, I'm joined by my equity buddy, Ren. How are you going?
I'm good, Bryce. Looking forward to a slight twist on Watchlist Wednesday. We normally get some of the best experts in Australia to come and share 3 stocks on their watch list.
Yes.
This time we've gone to the best experts in Australia, and that is the collective voice of the Equity Mates community.
Yes.
We put the call out on our Facebook discussion group. Feel free to join it if you want to join the conversation. But we put the call out and asked what stocks are on your watch list. And we've taken 3 of the most liked stocks. And we're going to have a chat about them today.
We are 5 minutes on each stock. Australia's best analysis. Let's get stuck in. No, we've got 3 stocks to rip through. So we may as well start at the top, Ren. And that is with a stock from Ash from the Equity Mates community, one of the most liked in the Facebook group, and that is Kathmandu.
Is Ash one of the most liked?
Ash is also one of the most liked in the Facebook group. Great person. Kathmandu, ticker is KMD. For those who have never heard of Kathmandu before, they're the outdoor apparel, and I think they do equipment at the moment as well, tents and sleeping bags and that sort of stuff. So.
Jeez, you obviously haven't
been around for a while. Been around for a while. But yeah.
So Kathmandu also owns one of your favourite brands. One that you used to rock back in Wagga when you were growing up.
Rusty.
Close. Rip Curl.
Rip Curl, yeah.
Brand I haven't heard about in a while.
Yeah, well, surf brands. Yeah, that's because we're not surfers.
True. And then a third brand, OusBiz.
Yes.
OusBiz, do you know?
No, I haven't come across OusBiz, but
So those 3 brands, Kathmandu, Rip Curl, OusBiz, in New Zealand, Australia, North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, and Brazil, they're taking on the world. They're another New Zealand based company.
Yeah.
I have a fascination with some of the quality coming out of New Zealand, so that's always a tick for me. 328 stores and a massively growing online segment as well.
Huge.
That's a tick for you. You
love retail.
a retailer making the transition to bricks and clicks.
Yeah, got a bit of a story about that in a second.
Great. Do you want to tell us now, or do you want to?
No, we can keep moving on. They've got 328 stores. But let's have a look at what's happened over the last few years in terms of their share price, because if you have been a shareholder for an extended period of time, it's been a rocky ride.
Yeah, Bryce, before we kicked this episode off, was reminiscing about how much he hated this stock in 2014. Potentially a spurned shareholder, allegedly.
No, I can reveal that I have never been a shareholder in Kathmandu, and that is because back when we were at uni 2014, they were under a significant amount of pressure for a declining stock price and a business model that at the time hadn't really made clear its online transformation strategy and was absolutely getting pumped by shareholders.
Jeez, you're just a broken record, aren't you? So yeah, if you do zoom out on the 10-year Kathmandu chart, you'll see it was about $1 in 2012. It ran up from $1 in the $1 to $3.50 in 2014. It fell back down to $1, and then it ran back up, or slowly ground back up to $3.25 in 2020. COVID happened, it collapsed, less than $1, 70 cents, and now it's slowly grinding its way back up again until $1.50 at the moment.
Yeah.
So if you bought it at the right time and you sold it at the right time, you might be very happy. But if you've held it for the last 10 years, you're probably not. Yeah,
you're probably not. But the good news is the last sort of 5 have certainly been better than those before. Market cap of 1.16 billion New Zealand dollars, revenue of about 800 million New Zealand. But Ren, It's had a compound annual growth rate over the past 5 years of about 14.5%, which you're not going to shy away from as an investor.
The revenue.
The revenue, yeah. It is profitable at the moment, just about $8 million New Zealand dollars profit. It has been affected by COVID, but you can expect that, but it's kind of now roaring back to life.
Yeah, so from 2014 to 2019, so pre-COVID, its revenue grew at a compound annual growth rate of 6.5%, and its profit grew at a compound annual growth rate of 6.5%. So COVID was great for its revenue number, bad for its profit number. But it's an interesting one that it's not a massively fast-growing retailer in those pre-COVID numbers, but it's a growing retailer.
Yeah.
And I think the big news about Kathmandu is its CEO for 5 years, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Xavier Simonet, announced his resignation in November 2020. He's going to head up Austrade. May have had something to do with that UK trade deal.
Yes.
And interestingly, Michael Daly, who has been the CEO of Rip Curl for 8 years, so one of Kathmandu's businesses, is being promoted and taking the reins. You do like to see that, a bit of promotion from within. And Rip Curl, surprisingly, has been cracking on.
It's been ripping.
In half one, F21, its online sales growth more than doubled in the US, up 47% in Australia, up 78% in Europe. So they're taking Rip Curl to the world.
That's COVID for you, I reckon. Everyone out there buying bikes, surfboards, skateboards, and apparel. That's my theory. But anyway, thank you, Ash, for Kathmandu. Certainly on my watch list, but I'm not invested.
I remember in the Equity Mates community, there was so much chat about Kathmandu at 70 cents. People were DMing me, people were posting about it. I unfortunately didn't get on it, but everyone who did, well done. You've more than doubled your money. And if that's not a reason to get amongst the Equity Mates discussion group, I don't know what is.
Yes.
But let's move on to the second company, a company that I actually hadn't heard about before, but is pretty fascinating. Objective Corporation, ASX ticker OCL, requested by Craig. So thanks for this one, Craig. Have you heard of this company?
I have not, Ren, which is what I love about this segment here at Watchlist Wednesday, so please enlighten me.
So it's a multinational software provider with operations in Australia, the UK, New Zealand, and it specialises in, it says it specialises in content management and governance solutions with over 1,000 customers and 60 countries.
Not bad.
But what it means by content management and governance solutions, it basically is a company set up to create systems for governments and to take governments away from paper-based, bureaucratic, inefficient systems and get them digitized.
Like local councils?
Everything.
Wow.
I've got a list of some of their key customers, but yes, local customers are included. But it has things like content and processes, so like managing workflows and all that stuff for government agencies, but also like planning and building for like government like local councils and stuff that are doing like planning authorities and approving buildings plans and stuff like that, and then also managing regulations and stuff like that. But
fascinating that there's a specific business for this when for the corporate world there are many software companies, the Atlassians of the world, who are providing software to streamline internal processes and project management and.
But it's very different, I think.
Is it?
Like they've got a whole like software program that manages ministerial briefs. So because like a big part of
Google Drive folder.
I think
that confusing. It can't be that hard.
For every public server listening who've just heard Bryce, it is clear that he has never worked a day in the public service.
I just think it's fascinating that there's a company that is specific to this, and the processes are so different.
But specialization happens, like there are specialist healthcare software providers and education software providers, because just a generalist software isn't always fit for purpose. That's the opportunity that these software players see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be there,
Sounds
but
like
I'm
that's
just
what you're saying.
I'm saying it could be a great investment because it's so niche. But I'm just interested that the planning and building process in government would be too dissimilar to a planning and building process in any major construction company.
Again, apologies to all public servants out there. This is all Bryce. This is not me.
Just speculation.
It is very different. If any public servants out there want to give Bryce a week's work experience so he can understand
I did do a week's work experience at the RTA.
Oh, yeah.
And based on that, I'm not saying it.
Well, the RTA is actually now called New South Wales Roads and Maritime Services.
Okay, great.
And they are a customer.
There you go. So,
and here are some other customers that Objective Corporation have. So they've got federal government customers. Now, I've just pulled these all from their customer success stories on their website. The Welsh Government's COVID response, the Royal Australian Navy, the Australian Department of Defence, Maritime New Zealand, Ministry for Primary Industries New Zealand. So a lot of federal government departments and agencies, state government level, New South Wales Department of Premier and Cabinet, New South Wales Roads and Maritime Services, New South Wales Department of Communities and Justice, Queensland Police Service, Victorian Commission for Gambling and Liquor Regulation, South Australian Health. Then you get down to the local council, and there was a bunch, but Cessnock City Council in Australia, Glasgow City Council over in Scotland. And then other companies, Taronga Zoo have used them, ResMed have used them. So it's an interesting one. You really start to think about how many government agencies and departments are out there. There's a lot of potential customers. They would be incredibly difficult to sell into, I imagine. Here's some of the numbers. $1.4 billion market cap, stock price up 120% in the past year, up 757% in the past 5 years. Revenue of 70 million, so not massive, grown at 7% over the last 5 years. Profit 11 million. So again, profit of 11 million on a $1.4 billion market cap. Interestingly though, it's grown its recurring revenue. So it's compounded at 16% over the last 5 years, from 31 million in F16, and it's on track to 65 million in recurring revenue this year. You know, investors love to see that recurring revenue number grow.
They do love to see it. Nice one. Well, Ren, we haven't left much time for the third and final. So that one was Objective Corporation, OCL is the number, and closing out with PWR Holdings, one that we have spoken about before.
Yeah, PWR Holdings, ticker PWH.
Silly.
Get the R.
Yeah, and this one's come in from Danny. You may have heard this one on a podcast that we did with Emma Fisher, and she also had this one as the stock that she would hold for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So PWH or PWR Holdings are a manufacturer based on the Gold Coast in Queensland, and they do cooling systems for every Formula One racing team. So if you've ever seen the Netflix documentary Drive to Survive, which is epic, you'd understand that in order to be a supplier for Formula One, you must be best in class, essentially, because they're looking for the absolute best. So they are the best in class at high-end cooling systems for cars, which is why Emma would have picked this for her stock over the next 30 years. And here's the reasoning. When you use a laptop, I'm sure you would have felt that it gets super hot. And that is going to be the same for electric vehicles. Apparently, they will require more superior cooling systems than your average car. And PWR are working on the high-end cooling systems for electric vehicles. And so as such, if the market is shifting that way and they're positioned as the best in class, there's no doubt that it presents a pretty compelling investment opportunity.
Yeah, so to quickly give you some of the numbers, market cap of 657 million, so not a massive company, up 57% in the past 12 months, up 130% in the past 5 years. Revenue of 65.7 million, 5-year compound annual growth rate of 15.1%, though, very solid. Interestingly, if you look at its market segments, 58% of its revenue comes from motorsports. So like the professional teams, Formula One, NASCAR, V8 supercars, all of those sports leagues, I guess, they supply into. And so it's it's 58% of their revenue. It's more than half of their revenue. And then profit of $13 million. They've grown that at an average of 8% over the past 5 years. So pretty small company, growing company, obviously specialists at what they do and supply the best in the business. And what they're hoping to do is take their best in class and make it mass market.
Yeah, which is where they'll start getting some great economies of scale. But that is the 3 stocks for this week. So it was PWR Holdings, PWH is the ticker, Objective Corporation, OCL, and then we had at the start Kathmandu, KMD, I think. Yeah, KMD. So thank you to those in the Equity Mates community who suggested those stocks. If you would like to join the group, head to Equity Mates Facebook discussion group. But Ren, otherwise, that brings us to the end of a Watchlist Wednesday. We will have an expert next week joining us again. They were all tied up this week. Would you believe it?
I'm pretty happy with what we just did.
But so am I. Maybe we'll bring this back next week. But
look, we got about 30 micro caps as well, so we could do plenty of micro cap content.
True. But tomorrow we will be reviewing 3 ethical ETFs that are on the market here in Australia, and you may be surprised at what's under the hood. So we will pick it up tomorrow. See you then.
Equity Mates, from our mates at Spaceship. Investing made easy.